Okay, this is the Pat's rubber legs, and this is tied on a jig hook. So we use this a lot for tight line nymphing. You can actually use this under a float too for steelhead, much like a marabou jig that a lot of the center pinners use. So it's a great fly. I've caught an absolute ton of fish on this thing, and it's only got a couple materials, and it's pretty quick to tie. And so this is used with a fire hole stick. This is a 523 and a size 6. And then the bead on this one is a slotted tungsten bead, and it's a size 4.6 mil, I believe. Yeah, 4.6 mil. So this has been a good little system on a size 6 hook with a 4.6 mil bead. It's kind of our standard size and weight for these stone flies that we use for the anchor on the tight line nymph. So these have been really good. And then underneath this chenille body here is just some lead wire. This one's got 0.025. You can use really anything similar to this diameter. You could use thicker, thinner, but 0.025 is a good size to use for most nymphs with this size. So, and then the legs and the tail here is this Sexy Floss from Montana Fly Company. This stuff is great. There's tons of colors of this. It's really easy to work with, and it's got really nice barring on it. And this is the amber color. So, and then the body is the stonefly chenille from Fly Fish Food. This stuff's great. It's just like the chenille you're probably used to seeing, but it's very, very thin, and it's got awesome barring on it. So this barred chenille paired with this leg material, it looks extremely buggy. So yeah, these have been really great for us. So we can go ahead and get started here. So here's our hook. This is our jig style hook. The idea here is that when you put these slotted beads up on this elbow, your attachment point where you tie your tippet is going to be above the weight. So that weight is going to flip the entire hook upside down, so this thing will ride like this. That's the whole idea of these jig nymphs, is that they ride hook point up. And it's actually pretty surprising how much it lessens your snag on the bottom. It doesn't hang up nearly as much. It's just a standard nymph running through these holes. So so that's kind of the way we rig these. And then behind it, we're gonna put quite a bit of this lead wire. So I'll like to pull off like a 6 or 7 inch strip of this stuff. And I don't know, about half the way down the hook shank, you can start wrapping this stuff, and you're gonna wrap it all the way to the bead. It should take about 12 to 15 wraps. The whole point is to have this fly be pretty heavy. You want it to get down to the bottom and stay there as quick as you can. So that looks to be about 14 wraps. That should do it. And then you can actually spin this off, this lead wire. You can sort of helicopter it off. And then this back end will just cut off. And then one thing that I like to do to get this lead seated in this bead is to get a pair of hemostats and then come in and just gently flatten this lead wire vertically, so it'll slide right into that slot of that bead, just like that. If you don't do that, it's not a big deal, but it does help to get all the weight as far up as you can possibly get. It just helps to flip that hook and helps it ride hook point up. So, and then the thread, you can use any thread. I like to use the orange though for these videos because you can just see it easier. But this is that Vivus 6/0 fluorescent orange. It's good stuff. You can use black, uni. Some of the Vivus 6/0 threads are really good too. So, so we can start and I like to smooth this ramp here from the lead to the hook shank, just kind of build a body of thread and just get this kind of smoothed out. And then we're gonna hang our thread right about here, right where that bend starts. And then we're gonna put our tail in, and you can just cut one piece of this floss off, and then you can get the thread right in the middle of it. Okay, then fold that front half back, and then tie that down with just a few wraps of thread. So you should end up with two filaments here running off the back at an angle. You can even go in with your thread and sort of come underneath these pieces of floss if you really want them to flare out more. Kind of figure eight sort of behind them. But this fly is designed to be pretty simple and quick, because since you are running on the bottom, in our rivers here in Michigan have so much wood that you'll likely lose a ton of these things. So probably not the smartest move to spend a ton of time on these, because they're kind of tied to be semi-disposable. So there's our tail. Then we're gonna move to this chenille. And I like to tie this in right where that lead ends. It'll just give us a smoother body. So that's kind of where we lock that down. And then you can cover it back to where those tails start. See how it just smooths out this whole transition? That's the idea there. And then we're gonna move up and we're gonna just put in two sets of legs. And that's the same floss material. So here's our first one. Just put it on the top side of the hook and do just a couple figure eights here to get this thing seated. Okay, there's one. And then we'll go forward. Put our second set of legs in. Kind of want these things to be as straight as possible, but again, it's not a huge deal. Okay, that should be good right there. So we're gonna set ourselves up and just hang your thread right behind the bead so you're ready to capture that chenille when it comes through. So we're just gonna start wrapping this forward here nice and tight. And then for these legs, you're just gonna have to sort of weave the chenille sort of behind, in front, underneath, and around all these legs here. So, okay. And then once you get to the bead, I like to put like one extra little tight wrap in there, just so there's not a big gap when you finish off the thread. Okay, so behind, in front, behind, in front. Okay, so then you can cut the chenille out and then do your whip finish. And then this is another reason why I like this orange thread, is it kind of gives it a hot spot right behind that dark bead. Just gives it good color contrast. All right, so you got two whip finishes. You can cut the thread. That's basically it. One thing I like to add is a little bit of this UV resin. If you look here, there's kind of a hole in the bead. That's the top of that slot. I just like to put a little bit down in there. It just helps to, keep everything in place. Prevents that whip finish from coming undone. And then that's the Loon UV thick, but you can use the thin as well. Or even a drop of super glue. But the super glue, when it dries, it gets kind of cloudy. This stuff stays nice and clear when it's cured, so that's it. And then we're gonna trim the tail to be just about the same length as the body. So right about there. And then for the legs, you can gather all these legs at once and just do one clean cut, about the same length as the tail. And there you have it. That's it. That's the Pat's rubber legs on a jig. So we use this as the point fly or the anchor fly on the Euro rig, and so it's gonna ride like this. See all the weights underneath your attachment point? That's the whole idea here, is this thing is getting flipped. so it's gonna bounce through the rocks like this. And this hook point being, you know, above everything, it's just less likely to grab onto any edge or piece of wood or seaweed or anything. You just get really good clean drifts with this fly. So, and then this stonefly chenille comes in tons of different colors. This is the brown ginger. So this is a nice golden stonefly imitation, but comes in dark brown, black, coffee, stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's a great fly to run here for the spring and summer, and really all year. So this thing's been lethal for us. So tie some of these up, let us know what you think, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks.